Welcome back to Sew Granny Sew, everyone. So today we are going to finish up this quilt top up for our sampler star quilt. Okay, so I have all three pieces done, and they are lining up width-wise. So I think if we try to go ahead and pin them together, it will turn out okay without putting, I was thinking about putting another green strip right in between there, but I didn't want to alter the size of the strip going around the carpenter star. So I think we're going to go ahead and get these three pieces, the two end rows, both there and there, are separate. So I'm going to go ahead and try to put at least one end on here and show you how that looks, and then we'll go from there whether we're going to take that back up and put a green strip in, or just go ahead and connect the other end and get a border around it. Started putting these on. We're just going to line up the two ends. You've seen previously how they were laid out on the table. I'm sorry, my table is not big enough in this room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up these two. No, they're not going to nest because they are all ironed towards the green. But we're going to go ahead and make sure that's pulled nice and tight so they line up good on one side. And we're going to stick a pin in there. And then we'll do the same with this other side. And I'm just sticking it right in the seam where I sewed it to make sure that's good and lined up there, because I wanted to see if this goes to the end or if we have extra fabric anywhere along the way. I could manipulate that and pull that a little taut on this one side to get that to go there. We'll try lining up the other end now. There's going to be two of them with the green seams in. So we're going to do the same thing at this end. I did on the middle of this section end up cutting an inch off, so slightly smaller than the other side. But because it's our quilt, our rules, so you can make it any way you want. This may end up just being a wall hanging. I might hand quilt this one. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. I was going to make a baby blanket out of it, but it's a lot of work to make a baby blanket just to turn around and sell it or give it away. So, and it's the first time I've done one as well. So that one looks good as well. I can manipulate that one side of the fabric to get it to go. So now we're going to look at the inside. Do we have a lot of fabric left on the bottom? We do not. We do have a bit on the top, so it's not going to line up perfectly on this end. So I just want to make sure that both ends are similar. So we're going to go ahead and turn it around and try putting the other end on and see if I have the same issue. Then we can just sew it in like that and not worry about it, because they'll be the same as each other at the ends. In the quilting world, it'd be nice to have everything perfect, but we all start somewhere. So if your first time at something isn't perfect, that's quite all right. Go ahead and get this side pinned on. We're going to lay it flat and check those ends again and see how they are. I just want to show you that's how little bit we're off on reaching the end of that. So we can manipulate it. Sometimes just by sewing it, the top will push out and come just as long as that one anyways. But if it doesn't, we can just kind of tug on the fabric a little bit as we're going. So on this one, it's the same thing. We got excess on the top, but not on the bottom. So I think it's going to be fine to go ahead and sew it like that. At least we know the stripes then are centered and won't look funny. Therefore, we can get away with not putting that inside green strip between here and here, because I don't want to alter the width of that star without doing it on all four sides. So we're just going to go ahead and we are going to line up these ends and get those pinned into place. Just so you know, we have plenty of time later in our quilting career or hobby or whatever you're using it for to get perfection down. When you're first starting, it's not the time to be perfect or try to be perfect. You can just do what feels right to you. If you like something, don't change it, because nobody else knows if your quilt was intended to be that way or not. Just putting a pin in the middle of all the end blocks on this row right now. That way we only have the center piece to work with, which is from this green stripe to this green stripe. I know you can't see the full picture of that. Sides to lay nice and flat where the stripes are on those. Once we have that done, then we can find the middle of both the top and the bottom and get those pinned together. We do want to make sure our top is lined up good. Okay, so we're just going to find the middle of the big green stripe that we have on there. I'll show you as soon as I get this pinned here so I don't want to lose it. So the middle of this, you just want to eye that and pin that down into place. And then we're going to work with just 1 square and a half of green stripe at a time. And we're just going to find about the middle of that, throw a pin in it. And then we're going to add 2 more pins into that mix. In between this green stripe and the center pin. And you make that pin into place. And then we'll go ahead and work on the second half of this, doing the same thing that we just did on that side. Now remember, you can pull your pins out and readjust as you go, all you need to. You don't, just because a pin is stuck there when it's laying flat, if you get a little ripple or something, you can definitely pull that pin out as you're sewing and let that fabric ease up so the ripple falls back out of it. Okay, so we have this side all pinned in, and we're going to go ahead and get that sewn on. I'll get that iron flat, and we'll come back and do the other side. Okay, I wanted to bring you over to the sewing machine and show you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this pin when I get up to it. But I wanted to show you how to make sure your fabric lines up as you're sewing. Because we have pins in there, but there's still gaps in between the pins. So we're just going to follow that 1/4 inch mark wherever you got yours. I'm going by my presser foot there. It's got a 1/4 inch marking on it. So you're just going to pull your back fabric, and then you can see this side of the fabric, the underneath fabric. So you just want to make sure that's lined up. Then I like to put my fingers on it after I line it up, and then we'll go ahead and pull that. Now you can see the excess in your fabric as you're sewing along. So you know, slow down to let it ease its way out. Like we get up to here, and you can see the back is not showing the small fibers through it from the fringed edge. Cotton will unravel, so when you're using cotton it will. But I had a little bit of a gap in the back, so you just want to kind of pull on that top fabric a little bit and maybe tug this just slightly in the back as you're sewing along to work them gaps out. And that is what I refer to when I say to manipulate the fabric. Then we'll pull that one out. Pull the second one out. And we got past our first green stripe now. So we're going to go ahead and keep working on this. Now it gets easier because I have green on the bottom and white on the top. So you can see the background, that little bit that shows that green. So you want to make sure that they're nice and lined up so you're sewing in a nice even line when you go according to whatever mark you're using on your sewing machine for that 1/4 inch mark. Pull that out. We still want to make sure that fabric's nice and lined up. And you can see we got a little bubble right there in the fabric. So we're going to work that out. We're going to pull that pin. We're going to make sure the 2 layers are nice and lined up. And right now I'm just tugging on the bigger part of the bottom of the fabric to line that up. And make sure you got it pulled a little bit taut where your hands are holding at. I use my thumb for that. When it gets up here, you'll see. So I'm just pulling this taut back by the pin to make sure that bubble has gone away. So when you sew it, you won't get a pucker there. So now we're up to that. The bubble has gone away. You can see it's nice and smooth there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up, and I'll meet you back at the table. Well, we do have that attached now and iron flat. And as you can see, this is what I'm talking about. I didn't want that off to be off too much. So that did work out. It does lay nice and flat. If you come across threads like this and you pull on it and it's firmly attached, you can go ahead and snip that off. And then down here, we have some more threads, but we also have, I guess all of them are loose ones there. So we also have a little crookedness I was seeing there. But unless I pointed that out, most people probably wouldn't have even noticed that. I noticed it because I'm right here in front of it. I just wanted to point that, and you can see how it's crooked there. I just wanted to point that out because just because you can see something, nobody else is even going to notice that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other side connected, get it sewn together iron flat, and then we will come back and we can finally work on our border. So we now have our Star Sampler Quilt all put together. Like I said, I am so sorry I don't have a spot big enough. But this here is a smaller one of the 4 that go on the outside edges. Those 2 are the same size. That one's the same size. So it's just a little bit smaller. So it's not really, really noticeable. It still comes across as being big. Bigger than these other 2 side stripes anyways right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started on the border. I believe it kind of came out square still. So we're working with a square quilt. It is about approximately 49 by 49. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with a 3-inch border. We're going to cut it at 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and iron up that green fabric again and get some 3.5-inch strips cut. We will need them to be approximately 49 inches long for both the top side and the bottom side, and then we will have to add on the 7 inches because it's 3.5, 3.5 on the sides of it on both left and right side. So it will be 49, 56.5 inches. So 2 at 56.5 inches and 2 at 49 inches. All of them will be 3.5 inch wide. I'll get those cut out and I'll come back and show you how to attach those. Hoping this shows up better, I kind of backed up the camera a little bit. So I have my strip cut out at 3.5 inches that we're going to use for the border. I just have the ruler laying here to hold the weight of the fabric up on the table. So I had to cut these, I cut the selvage off. So I cut them along the selvage. I folded up the fabric and cut along the selvage and then measured 3.5 down from there. That way it gave us a little bit longer piece to work with because my fabric was longer than it was wide. It had 44-inch selvage. So these pieces are about 60, 61 inch, which gives us continuous border versus having to piece our border together. All we're going to do is I remeasured our quilt top, and I'm at like 57-ish, 58-ish one way, and 58-ish, 59-ish the other way. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with one side, and we're just going to pin this on. I did not cut this down because I want to make sure that we are able to get the full amount before I cut it. So we're just going to run it along the edge, line up that top edge, and pin that into place. I'm leaving a little bit of overage there just in case it shifts a little bit. And when you're doing it, you want to make sure all your seams are the way that they're sewed in. So we'll go along and I'm going to pin on the seams and then pin in any big spots that are along the way. About every 4 inches because the weight of the fabric makes it want to shift when you're sewing it. I still have a few things in my sewing room that are being worked on, and my sewing table hasn't been to fit my sewing machine yet. So I don't know if I'm going to go with this one or a different one, but either way, it hasn't been done yet. So I'm just sewing on top of my table with the left side folded up because it's an older sewing table for the time being, and the weight of my fabric hangs down on that left side and wants to pull it off the sewing machine. So I kind of hold it on there while I'm sewing. So I always want to make sure I get it good and pinned so it cannot shift when I'm sewing it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this pinned on. We will take it to the sewing machine and we'll do a 1/4 inch seam. I'll get that ironed open, get the other side up. You're going to do opposite sides. So after we get that side, we'll go down to the bottom and do that side. So I'll get both of those sewed on, get them iron flat, and I'll come back and show you the sides of it then. So we have the 2 sides on, and you will have a little bit of overage on the end. So we're going to go ahead and lay that just straight along that square and trim that up. It doesn't have to be exact because that is going to be in a seam. But I did want to show you at this end, we were, let's see, this end here. We were a little shy, but seeing that it's less, if you look at that, that is less than 1/4 inch. That's actually less than 1/8 inch. So that's going to be in the seam allowance. So I'm not going to worry about that one. So we have both sides on, as I said. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach the one going that way. So we'll get a new strip out. Strips to be long enough to go from end to end to include the 3 inches on that, on both ends. So it will be your, say it was 49 by 49, it'd be 49 plus 6. So 3 on each side is what you would need. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to line mine up with where my seams are, as far as where it's going to fall at, because the weight of it is getting a little bit more, so it does want to come off the table a little bit. So once we get that all the way, you can see it's not quite to the end right there. We're going to go ahead and pull that down to make sure the end is fully covered. Throw a pin in that. And we are just going to work our way down just like we did to the other ones. And if you can work on a better surface than this that holds the whole quilt, that is more ideal. I am very limited on space in here until I figure out what I'm doing. But I like to pin where the seams are because that holds that back of that seam into place. And we'll just go through and we'll pin each square like that until we get all 4 pinned going across. And then we'll take it to the machine, do a 1/4 inch seam, iron that open, and attach the other side. So the next time I bring it back, our quilt top will be finished. So we have it all finished now, the quilt top. Once again, I apologize. I cannot get it anywhere where I can get the whole thing in the picture. But as you can see, it does have the border around it. So when I stand back, you can see it does look unison. I really like it. I enjoyed making this one. We got a chance to go over several different stars. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite was. And as always, guys, if you found this video useful, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, as it really helps our channel grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we would surely love to have you here at Sew Granny Sew. Thanks all. Have a good day. Bye.